Hello everybody, my name is Chris Litten. I am the proud owner of Body Basics Health and Fitness in Tucson, Arizona. Thank you so much for subscribing to this video, 6 tips for preventing lower back pain. What we want to be able to provide in these 6 tips are effective strategies that you can use anywhere, whether on vacation, at home, at another facility, or of course, at our very own Body Basics to reduce your risk for lower back pain. Okay, so these first 3 tips of the 6 that I want to show you have everything to do with relieving tight muscles. Commonly, lower back pain really comes down to simply being tight in some key areas. So I have my good friend Nina here, and Nina's going to show us our first stretch that you can be doing. So what she's going to do is she's going to get onto one knee, and let's have you switch the other way just so that they can see here as well. So she's going to get on one knee like so. She's going to start by bending down, just like this. When she bends down like that, the muscle that we're going to want to stretch is a muscle right in here. It's called the iliopsoas, for those of you that know your anatomy. Basically, tight thigh is what we're trying to reduce here, because that muscle threads through the abdomen and actually can pull on your lower back if it's really tight. So by loosening this up, it's going to make a big difference. So here's how you're going to do it. She's going to go from this bent over position. She's going to draw her hip bones inward, upward toward her ribs by contracting her butt. And she's going to bring herself upright. Right away as she's doing that, or if you're doing that at home, you're already going to start to feel some tightness here, some stretch. If it feels greater than a 4 or 6 out of 10, with 10 being a maximal stretch, ease up. The way you would ease up is just simply bend forward a little bit until you're at that 4 to 6. Otherwise, extend all the way up. Feel that stretch. If you're not quite at that 4 to 6, you want to feel it a little bit more, take your right arm, raise it up, tilt your torso sideways slightly, and hold. Now, some key points that you want to know in this stretch as well as the other 2 coming. Breathing. We always want to be using that diaphragm. So I have my hands here at Nina's ribs. We always want to be focusing on getting that inhale and exhale through the ribs rather than up here in the neck and shoulders. That will definitely cause you to incur lower back pain if you're up here in your neck and shoulders. So get that diaphragm working by inhaling and exhaling right here through your ribs. And hold the stretch for at least 30 seconds, up to 1 minute. If you're particularly tight, relax, repeat 3 times, and you may do both sides. One last note. If you do your right side, for example, and you notice that that stretch 4 to 6 is here, and then you come over to the left side, you do the same stretch, and you realize that your 4 to 6 out of 10 is actually here, that's an asymmetry, and in that case, put more attention over to that right side until you start to notice a change between the 2. That's your tip number 1. This stretch is called a half kneel because you're on one knee, half kneel hip stretch. Tip number 2 has to do with relieving stress in this area right here, commonly known as the hamstring. So what can happen as it relates to lower back pain is that you can get tightness here, which causes your pelvis to do this. When that happens, it puts a lot of stress right in the area here of your lower back. So if we relieve tension here, that will help to allow your pelvis to settle into position more, which will take that stress off the lower back. I have my friend Marge here, and she's going to show us a really great stretch for relieving that tension in your hamstrings. So Marge, I'm going to have you lie on your back with your head right here. And one thing I want to point out is you notice I put this pillow behind Marge's head. The reason for that is this. If I take that pillow away, this is really important. Chin to forehead plays a significant role in lower back pain as well. If that chin is higher than your forehead, that stress placed on the neck carries right on through the rest of the spine into that lower back. So we want to take this pillow, put it underneath, to allow the chin and the forehead to be more level with each other. So just an extra tip there. What we're going to do next, we're going to take a rope Find this at any hardware store. Make yourself a loop. If you don't have that, you could use a belt at home. Anything that you can use to get a loop like this. You're going to put it on your foot. You're going to hold it with your two hands. And you're going to keep the legs straight. Initially, if you're really tight, you might start with one knee bent like this. And you're simply going to pull this up, keeping the knee straight, and pull it up to a point where you're feeling a nice, healthy stretch in the back of the leg. We talked last time about that 4 to 6 out of 10 as being optimal for your stretch intensity. Same thing with this stretch as well. If you pull to a point where you're feeling that increase above that 4 to 6, simply ease up. If you're getting to about this position here, pretty much vertical with the ground, and you're still within that 4 to 6, hold that stretch. If you want to get a little bit more, simply extend your leg. When you do so, that will certainly increase this stretch. So that is tip number 2. This movement is the hamstring stretch, either with the knee bent or with the knee straight. And as before, we want to hold this for at least 30 seconds, up to a minute. You're going to do both sides. Also, as before, if you notice an asymmetry as you're doing the stretch right versus left, make sure that you put more attention to the tighter side, less to the more relaxed side. This third and final stretching tip is an excellent one for relieving stress in this area of your buttock. Really common area for those who have had issues with lower back pain. The reason for that is the muscles that are in there, they actually kind of pull, and as they pull, they wreak havoc on your pelvis. They cause it to not move well. And as a result of not moving well, you guessed it, you're going to get that lower back pain. So let's look at this stretch. It's an effective one. It is commonly called the figure 4 stretch or piriformis stretch, relating to a key muscle that it's stretching. So I have my friend Cindy here, and Cindy is going to lie on her back with her head right here. And we're going to kind of go through 3 phases because this stretch can be tentative for you if you do have back pain. So phase 1 would be to actually start with your legs down and to simply cross, in this case, your right ankle above your left knee. For some of you, you may already start feeling a stretch there. That's totally fine. All you're going to do is take your hand, place it here, pull upward slightly to give it a little bit of release, and you're going to hold that for your 30 seconds to a minute, just like you did on the other 2 stretches that I showed you today. If you're really not feeling much of a stretch here, phase 2 is simply going to be to bend your knee. And as you bend that knee, that's certainly going to increase this stretch, and that may be enough. If it isn't, if you're still not at that 4 to 6 that we've discussed in the other 2 stretches, your last phase would be to pull this knee up like so, and that will guaranteed, right? That'll guaranteed get that stretch deep in the buttock there. So with all of these phases, find the one that works best for you. And once you do, you're going to hold it for 30 seconds to a minute. With the other 2 stretches, we talked about doing both sides. Same with this one. Make sure you do both sides. If you notice a prominent difference between one side versus the other, put your attention to the side that shows that it needs it the most. Now that we talked through those 3 effective stretches for reducing back pain, I want to finish this video with 3 strength moves that are also going to be integral to reducing lower back pain. So I'm here with my friend Gene, and we're going to be looking at this first exercise, which is called the side-lying clamshell. So Gene is going to lie on his side, and the first thing that he's going to do once he's lying on his side is he's going to stack both of his feet atop each other like so. He's going to put a slight bend to his knees. From there, he's going to ensure that both hips are stacked vertically with each other. This is really important for alignment because Again, we're talking about this lower back. If you're over-rotated, that may actually cause discomfort, or if you're over-rotated this way, that might also not feel so good. So keep that alignment there. From there, he's going to take a nice diaphragmatic breath like we talked about right at the beginning. He's going to take a nice breath in and expand that rib cage. And then as he exhales, he's going to exhale in such a way that he draws his navel inward and upward toward his spine. And then once he has that set, he's also going to be raising this leg like so. In raising this leg, that is going to activate some key muscles here in the hip that help to keep the hip stable. Specifically when you're walking, there's muscles on this side as well as this side that literally prevent our hips from this kind of action, so we stay nice and level. You can appreciate that if your spine's here and your hips would be moving like this, that might not feel so good on the spine. So strengthening these muscles will keep that alignment. So let's put it all together now that I've kind of talked about the pieces. He's going to get that inhale, that exhale, draw inward, upward with the spine. As he's exhaling, this knee is rising. He's going to hold that position as he inhales once again. And then as he exhales, he's going to lower himself back down, just like so. My suggestion for you is, rather than thinking about this as number of repetitions, consider it in your breaths. Most of us, when we exercise, particularly when we're dealing with stress like lower back pain, we tend to not breathe so well. So you can get an added benefit if you focus on that diaphragm and getting that rib expansion on your inhale, that exhale drawing in and lifting that knee, holding and inhaling once again, and exhaling as you lower, and repeating that for a minimum of 60 seconds and all the way up to 3 minutes. Make sure you do both sides. 1 set a day is plenty. Honestly, if you're just getting started, 1 set every other day is plenty. The second strength tip is an excellent one for figuring this piece out that we talked about earlier when we were looking at Marge's excellent example of hamstring flexibility and that hamstring stretch. Remember, we talked about this idea of tight hamstrings causing the hips to do this and how much stress that can place on that lower back. So our goal is to get this position right here. This exercise is meant to train you and teach you how to hold this, quote, neutral position, this healthy position between excessive arch in that lower back or excessive rounding in that lower back, both of which can be problematic to the lower back. So it is called the bug, and there are different variations of it. We're going to show you a few so you have a good start. The key with all of them is to make sure first and foremost that your pelvic position is optimal. Again, not here, right in the middle. So first we're just going to find these landmarks of the hip bones with, again, my friend Marge from before, and we're going to make sure the hip bones and the ribs are pretty well level with each other. If she were to be overly rotated one way or the other, that would be something we'd want to change. So she's already found that healthy position. Step one is simply to raise one leg. If you're just getting started at an exercise like this, the weight of your leg, surprisingly, will definitely be enough to challenge this. Exactly, Marge. So it will definitely challenge this. So being able to hold that and do so with that diaphragmatic breathing, strong inhale, strong exhale, drawing navel to spine, and doing so for 60 seconds to 3 minutes will be adequate. Now, once you have been able to hold this for 3 minutes and you're doing so successfully and feeling good about it, then your next phase would be to actually go in and out. So we're still going to keep this leg down, and now you're going to inhale, and then as you exhale, you would extend that leg, hold position, inhale once again, see how she's using that diaphragm, and then exhale as the navel is drawing inward toward the spine. Now you would repeat that sequence again until you're able to achieve an accumulated total of 3 minutes. Once you have achieved that task, final thing I'm going to show you today, raise one arm. When I raise this arm and I start moving this arm, that's going to challenge your spine to stay stable even further, because now we're using upper spine muscles as well. So we're going to inhale, exhale as they move away from each other. Then that diaphragm is going to expand again as she inhales, and then she's going to exhale and return. Very good. Go ahead and keep going, Marge. So as she's doing this, this would be the most advanced of the three that I showed you today. When you can get to this for 3 minutes, at that point, your back should be feeling amazing. You can continue on with this, or you could do some other progressions, which I'd be happy to show you at another time. This final tip of our 6-part series is an excellent one as well for reducing lower back pain. The focus is on strengthening the muscles of the trunk, very much like the bug we did before, but just in a little bit different style. So I have my friend Richard here, and the exercise that we're going to be demonstrating is called the plank. He's going to show 3 different ways you can approach this. So this first one, he's going to place his hands in an inclined position. So if you're at home, this could be a chair, it could be a counter, just something where you're elevating to start. Then you notice he already has anchored one of his feet like that. That's really important. You don't want to be like this. You don't want to be loose. You want to get that anchor because we want to create healthy tension through the body. That's what's going to give you the protection in your lower back. So nice and anchored there. Notice that he has a straight line to his body, and he has a healthy push away from this surface. Then he's simply going to do what we've been doing all along with the other ones. He's going to inhale diaphragmatically, and then as he exhales, he's going to draw his belly button inward, upward toward his spine, and he's going to repeat that at least 30 seconds, ultimately up to 3 minutes. Once you're able to do this for that span of time of 3 minutes, then we're going to go into a push-up plank position. And just as before, hand placement is very much the same. Going to extend the knees, make sure the toes are tucked under, firm squeeze of that buttocks, nice healthy push away from the surface, strong breathing, and holding that position at least 30 seconds, working up towards 3 minutes. If you want to really go for it and you're feeling amazing, by this point your back is feeling amazing, you can even do crazy stuff like raise one leg, hold that for 3 to 5 seconds, come back down, alternate to the other side, and repeat. I hope you've enjoyed these 6 tips for preventing lower back pain. I promise you, if you make the personal commitment to the 3 stretches and the 3 strength moves that were demonstrated today with all of my wonderful friends, you will reduce your risk for lower back pain. And if you're dealing with some right now, I promise you, you're going to reduce the sensitivity and intensity of the discomfort you're currently experiencing. And the last thing I want to share with you before we finish up today, we love stories. We love successes. So after you have started doing these stretches and exercises and you start experiencing success yourself, please share with us. We have our Body Basics Facebook page. You can find us at Body Basics Personal Training, and we'd love to hear from you.